This 17 News at Noon podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista.
Welcome back to 17 News at Noon podcast, where we share your news on your schedule. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us for 17 News at Noon. I'm Nicole Gitsky. We begin with search and rescue efforts underway after Hurricane Ida roared ashore along the Louisiana coast Sunday as a powerful Category 4 storm. The destruction is widespread and millions are without power. So far, one person is confirmed dead, but officials warn the death toll is expected to climb as search and rescue teams reach the hardest hit areas. Meantime, here at home, firefighters are finally starting to get a handle on the French fire that has been burning in and around the Kern River Valley. Today, life is starting to return back to normal for those residents who had to evacuate as fast-moving flames approach them and their homes. 17's Christian Galeno has more on the French fire, and he joins us live now from Camp 9 with the latest. Christian?
Nicole, a very good afternoon to you. Indeed, good news for the residents that live in these areas. Fire crews have made some significant progress. Those residents returning back home as well. A look at the numbers right now. The French fire has burned so far over 25,000 acres, and it is now 26% contained. Today, we're in for a very hot and dry day as well. That can present some challenges for those fire crews that are out there in the crew in the front of the lines as well. Now, Cal OES says that over 900 people were evacuated. Evacuation warnings in Kernville and River Kern have now been lifted, and evacuation warnings are still in place for Wofford Heights, Alta Sierra, and communities in the southeast part of the fire. Over on the west, Glenville still remains under those evacuation warnings. And again, we're definitely in for a very hot and dry day today, again, presenting some challenges for fire crews out there. And joining me now to talk a little bit about the progress and the work so far that's up ahead is Alex Allo with the U.S. Forest Service. Alex, thanks so much for being here with us today as well. First question, we've seen major progress in the firefight. Some people are now back home. What really helped us, or helped you guys in that case, to make this progress?
Well, we just worked very hard to get where we are now. We have operations planners that speak with fire behavior analysts to determine or help determine where the fire may want to go based on the terrain, based on the weather. And we try to ensure that we have the resources there, so if the fire does make a push into that area. Some of the other aspects that were very successful is when the fire did make a run on the Wofford Heights area, we had a lot of what we refer to as a structure branch. We had a lot of structural firefighting vehicles and firefighters in those areas, preparing that area for the event that may occur, and yes, it did. That and the fact that the daytime crews continued into the night when the night crews arrived, so they didn't normally, if there's a shift change, they pass off information and then the day crew would come down for their rest and so forth. But on Tuesday night when that push happened, they stayed and they assisted and made sure that things would be successful.
And really quick, if you could tell us, what's the biggest challenge that you guys are facing right now?
It's a challenging terrain where they are right now, so that has a lot to do with it, and of course the high temperatures. But they are making great effort. Yesterday's growth was maybe 400 acres, so that's a good sign that we're making the fire react to us, and that's what we like.
Sounds good. All right, Alex, thank you so much. Well, for the latest details, you can always head over to our website, kget.com. That's where you also find the latest details on the shelters staffed by the American Red Cross. For now, that's the latest information from Camp 9. Christian Galeno, 17 News.
All right, thanks so much for that, Christian. And just as Christian mentioned, it's a reminder that you can see all of our coverage of the French fire, including up-to-the-minute updates on evacuation orders, how to get free help finding and caring for pets, and how to donate to those that are impacted by the fire and even those impacted by Hurricane Ida. You can head to our website, kget.com. Well, it was a violent weekend in Kern County. At least one person is dead and several others wounded in separate shootings and a stabbing. The latest shooting happening Sunday morning that left one man dead and another hospitalized. Bakersfield police say they responded to a shot spotter alert around 9 o'clock yesterday morning on South Owen Street near California Avenue and Washington Street. They found two men had been shot. One man died. The other was taken to the hospital. Police say there's no suspect information at this time. Police are also investigating a shooting that left a man fighting for his life Saturday night in southeast Bakersfield. Officers were called to East 9th Street near MLK Park just before 11:45 p.m. That's where they found a man with a gunshot wound to his head. BPD says he was taken to the hospital where he's in critical condition. No word yet on what led up to this shooting. And just 10 minutes earlier, another shooting. It happened in the area of White Lane and Hughes Lane at about 11:30. According to Bakersfield police, the shooting stemmed from a large gathering of street racers. When police arrived, they found 2 people had been shot. Both were rushed to the hospital. One person remains in critical condition. The other victim suffered non-life-threatening injuries. BPD says no arrests have been made at this time. And the violent weekend didn't stop short at gun violence. A man was rushed to a hospital last night after a stabbing outside a market in South Bakersfield. Police were called to Panama Lane and Brahma Street for reports of a stabbing just before 8:30. Police say the stabbing happened in the parking lot of the El Milagro market. Now, the victim was taken to a hospital and is currently in critical but stable condition. This is an ongoing investigation. Meantime, the man wanted for leading deputies on a pursuit and shooting at a woman during an attempted carjacking is behind bars. Officials say Luis Batista led deputies on a pursuit through the Mojave and Kern Valley areas Friday. According to KCSO, Batista was able to escape deputies and try to carjack a driver in the area of Highway 14 and California City Boulevard. Deputies allege that Batista shot at a woman as she was driving away from the carjacking. Luckily, she wasn't hit. Now, Batista was arrested yesterday in Mojave. Meantime, local group The Next Steps is inviting community members to a vigil to raise awareness of gang violence. Now, the group is holding the event tomorrow from 6 to 7:30 at the Liberty Bell in downtown Bakersfield. Event organizers say it will be a night promoting hope and justice, focusing on the gang violence problem in our county.
The month of August was outrageous as far as the homicides were going with the gun violence, having 2 officer-involved shootings, a situation with domestic violence and just the gang violence. So we really wanted to unite the community together just to let them know that we're all grieving together, but also that it is important for us to say something if we see something.
Survivors will speak at the vigil, along with officials like District Attorney Cynthia Zimmer and several other advocacy groups. Well, Kern County is trending in the wrong direction when it comes to COVID-19. Public Health releasing new data today showing startling numbers. Nearly 1,500 new cases were reported, along with 4 deaths today. We must note that Public Health does not release new data on the weekends, so this number includes positive cases and deaths throughout the weekend. August has now become our deadliest month since April, when vaccines weren't widely available. By our count, at least 93 people have died since vaccines became available to everyone. Currently, 280 people are in the hospital, 51 are in the ICU. The state models show hospitalizations will continue to increase until early October if trends continue. And the data continues to show that COVID-19 vaccines are highly effective at preventing more severe illnesses caused by the virus. Those 12 and older who want a vaccine can make an appointment for all local vaccination sites by heading to myturn.ca.gov.
Clinica Sierra Vista is now offering rapid COVID-19 testing and COVID-19 vaccinations. Call 833-278-4584 to make your appointment. But don't delay. Clinica Sierra Vista, putting patients first.
Meantime, a new study is shedding light on the recovery of children diagnosed with a rare inflammatory syndrome linked to COVID-19. Now, researchers in the UK studied 68 children with multi-system inflammatory syndrome in children, or MIS-C. They found that 1 year later, none of them had died, and only 2 of them had to be readmitted to the hospital for unrelated reasons. In fact, despite some children still showing heart abnormalities, the majority had good outcomes with no significant complications. Welcome back. 17 News is your local election headquarters. Time is running out for you to register to vote in the upcoming recall election. Now, today is the last date to register to vote if you want to participate in the recall election. If you miss the deadline, you can still go to the polls and complete a same-day voter registration. Your ballot will be processed and counted once the county elections office verifies your registration. You can register online at registertovote.ca.gov. And if you already have your ballot and you're wondering how it works, well, it's pretty simple. There are 2 questions on the ballot. The first asks if Newsom should be removed, yes or no. Now, the second question then asks who should replace him. Voters will choose from a list of replacement candidates. If a majority of voters approve Newsom's recall, well, the candidate who gets the most votes becomes governor. If Newsom is recalled, his replacement could be elected with just a fraction of the votes. With 46 of candidates dividing those ballots, it's possible a winner could get just 25% or less. And a reminder, all ballots must be turned in by September 14th. Meantime, the Kern County Elections Office says it needs poll workers for the recall election. Workers would staff polling places across the county on Election Day, that's September 14th. You must be a registered voter, attend a training session, and be available to work anytime between 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. They are also looking for volunteers who are bilingual to assist voters. For more information, visit kernvote.com. Also this week, a forum will feature a panel of speakers discussing the devastating impacts of fentanyl addiction in Kern County. Bakersfield Recovery Services members and others, including 17th Robert Price, will take part in a discussion that will cover some of the local resources available to people struggling with addiction and substance abuse. A family that has lost a loved one to a fentanyl overdose will also speak. The forum is scheduled for 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. Thursday at New Wine Church on G Street. Those attending are asked to arrive early. Refreshments will be served at 5:30 p.m. The event will also be live streamed on our 17 News Facebook page. And a reminder, you can watch Robert Price's in-depth look on the rising use of fentanyl here in Kern County and the lives the deadly drug has taken. Just head to kget.com/fentanyl for Robert's 5-part series, Fentanyl, the Counterfeit Killer. Is your phone being flooded with spam calls, scammers, and telemarketers lately? Well, data from UMail shows Bakersfield is one of several metro areas that saw an increase in robocalls last month. Now, while spam calls are up around town, the opposite is happening everywhere else in the country. Robocalls dropped 5% nationwide last month, a decline of more than 200 million calls. Experts suspect the decline is due to the FCC requiring phone providers to implement caller ID technology. Experts urge you not to answer unknown numbers. They say if it's important, they'll leave a message.
The 17 News at Noon podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.